Welcome back. As we are talking about discussing about the access controls, in the access control, we have seen uh, what are the types of access controls, then access control strategies, then in the access control, what is the identification and how the authentication done in a different way. Now we'll try to discuss the authorization. So, what is an authorization? So, authorization controls what a user can and cannot do on the network after successful authentication. So, after a user proves his or her identity, the system checks to see what network resources the user can access and what the user can do with the resources. So, as see in this, the diagram, the authorization answers these questions: what read, copy, create, and delete privileges does the user have? So, the authorization uses a set of attributes that describe the user's access to the network. The system compares these attributes to the information contained within the authentication database and determines a set of restrictions for that user and delivers it to the local router where the user is connected. So, authorization is automatic and does not require users to perform additional steps after authentication. So implement authorization immediately after the user authenticates. So you can see that using this authorization, the defining the authorization rules is the first step in controlling the access. So an authorization policy establishes these rules. A group membership policy defines authorization based on membership in a specific group like HR group. It may be the faculty group, staff group, administrators group. So for example, the all employees of an organization have a swipe card which provides access to the facility. So if an employee's job does not require that she have access to the server room, her security code will not allow her to enter that room. So an authority level policy defines the access permissions based on an employee's standing within the organization. For example, only senior level employees in an IT department may access the server room. So that is the using authorization, how it is going to be controlled, by defining the authorization rules as the first step in controlling the access. So then comes to the accountability for a control list. So in accountability, that traces an action back to a person or process making the change to a system or making the change to a system which collects this information and reports the usage data. So the organization can use this data for such purpose as auditing or billing. The collected data might include the login time for a user, whether the user login was a success or failure, or what network resources the user accessed. So, this allows an organization to trace actions, errors, and mistakes during an audit or investigation. So, for implementing this accountability, uh, that consists of technologies, policies, procedures, and education. The log files provide detailed information based on the parameters chosen. For example, an organization may look at the log for login failures and successes. So, login failure can indicate that a criminal tried to hack an account. Login success tell an organization which users are using what resources and when. So, is it normal for an authorized user to access the corporate network at 3 a.m.? The organization policy and procedures spell out what action should be recorded and how the log files are generated, that reviewed and stored. So data retention, media disposal, and compliance requirements all provide accountability. So many laws require the implementation of measures to secure different data types. So these laws guide an organization on the right way to handle, store, and dispose of data. The education and awareness of an organization's policies, procedures, and the related laws can also contribute to accountability. So then, what are the types of security controls then to give the access control, right? So let us see the type of security controls. One is preventive controls. So in preventive means to keep something from happening, right? So preventive access control stop unwanted or unauthorized activity from happening. So, for an authorized user, a preventive access control means restrictions. So, assigning user a specific privileges on a system is an example of a preventive control. Even though a user is an authorized user, the system puts limits in place to prevent the user from accessing and performing unauthorized actions. So, a firewall that blocks access to a port or service that cyber criminals can exploit is also a preventive control. Another type is deterrent controls. In deterrent control, is the opposite of your reward. So, a reward encourages individuals to do the right thing, while a deterrent discourages them from doing the wrong thing. So, cybersecurity professionals and organizations use the deterrents to limit or mitigate an action or behavior, but deterrents do not stop them. Access control deterrents discourage cyber criminals from gaining unauthorized access to information systems and sensitive data. So, access control that deterrents discourage attacking systems, stealing data, or spreading malicious code. So, organizations use the access control deterrents to enforce cybersecurity policies. So the deterrents make potential cyber criminals think twice before committing a crime. So in this figure, it lists some common access control deterrents uses in the cybersecurity world, that locks, fences. So far, we discussed that badges, your guards, your man traps, cameras, intrusion alarms, your separation of your duties, awareness training, firewalls, editing, and encryption. These are all comes under your deterrent controls. So the another type of security control is detective control. So in the detection is the act or process of noticing or discovering something. So access control detection identify different types of unauthorized activities. So detection systems can be very simple, such as a motion detection or security guard. So they can also be more complex, such as an intrusion detection system. So all detective systems have several things in common. They look for unusual or prohibited activities. So they also provide, this detective control also provide the methods to record or alert system operator of potential unauthorized access. So detective controls do not prevent anything from happening. They are more of an after the fact measure. And another type of security control under your access control is corrective controls. In detective controls and then your corrective controls. So the corrective, the counteracts something that is undesirable. So organizations put corrective access control in place of after a system experiences a threat. So corrective control restore the system back to a state of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So they can also be restore systems to normal after unauthorized activity occur. So the examples of your corrective access control is your intrusion detection system, your man traps, or business continuity planning, antivirus, alarms, and security policies. So these are few examples. And the another type of your security control is recovery control. So in the recovery control, it is a return to a normal state. So recovery access control restore the resources. It may be the network resources or end device resources or the functions and capabilities after a violation of a security policy. So recovery control can repair the damage in addition to stopping any further damages. So these controls have more advanced capabilities over the corrective, the access control. Some of the examples of your recovery access control are backups are restore the operations, or fault tolerance drive system, or server clustering, database sharding, or antivirus softwares. So then the another one is compensative controls are there, another security measure. So in this compensative access control, so this compensate means to make up of for something, right? So compensative access control provide options to other controls to the bolster enforcement in support of a security policy. So a compensative control can also be a substitution used in place of a control that is not possible under the circumstances. For example, an organization may not be able to have a guard dog, so instead it deploys a motion detector with a spotlight and a barking sound. So these are some of the examples: security policies or personal, the supervision or work task procedures, and monitoring using your the cameras is some of the examples of your compensative control, right? So with this, I would like to stop the session, and in the next lecture, we'll try to discuss about the obscuring data, that is data masking, and how the data should be secured. That we'll try to discuss in the next session or in the next video.